think we're ready. I think we're ready. Yes. Hi. Welcome to Ask MoJo Anything. I am your hostess with the mostest. That is MoJo Medium. You may also know me as Susie Morrow, Susie Kendall, Susan Morrow Johnson. These are all my names. But right now I'm going to be MoJo, so you can ask MoJo anything. Awesome. All right. As you can see, I didn't take the time to put up my backdrop today. I don't know if we're going to continue with the backdrop or not. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. I don't know. Doesn't matter. All right. So we're going to get started asking questions. And whatever your questions, you may put them in the comments, or you can message me later if you're watching this in the replay. Whatever you need to do, you let me know. So at Ask MoJo Anything, you ask MoJo anything. I am an expert in psychic stuff and people in heaven and manifestation, especially law of attraction. That's my big thing. And I also happen to know a lot about just a variety. I know a little something and have an opinion on almost everything. So religion, politics, English, I'm really good at that. So ask away. In the meantime, we're going to start with a fantastic question asked on Quora at Quora.com. That's Quora. I do a lot of answering questions on Quora. It is a question and answer forum, so you can look for me there. Unfortunately, they will not let you use any name for the URL except your own actual legal name. So when I'm done, I'll give you the link. Okay. All right. Let's see here. What kind of life should someone live after spiritual awakening? So the person asked, what kind of life should someone live after spiritual awakening? Now, I suspect that the person asking is wondering, like, do you have to become a monk? So here's my answer. I like this question. There's not an answer that suits everyone. You have to choose. But I will say this, you don't have to be a monk, be yourself. For me, awakening meant that I started to use my gifts in service to others, which is what I had searched for. I also felt called to offer these services as a business. And I have recently, this was a while ago, I recently felt called to expand my services so that I can use more of my gifts in service. Also, for a lot of my clients, as it was for me, the post-awakening life means a deepening of their understanding of themselves and others, a new practice of meditation, yoga, Reiki, and other methods of connecting to all that is. I like to call it the divine collective. You may call it God, universe, higher self, spirit, higher power, whatever you want to call it. The main thing is to live and to serve as you feel called. You may be excited about what's happened to you. You know, like if you've had a spiritual awakening that's like, oh, wow. So you might be excited, but it's not a good idea to push it onto others. The people who need to be served or helped by you and the people who will help you continue on your path will find you and you will find them. After all, isn't that what awakening means? Isn't that what awakening means? That's the way I see it. Awakening is like you see things differently. You see things as you know to be true compared with what you have been told to believe all your life. Does that make sense? I hope so. All right, let's take another question. Okay, another reader writes, I'm 25 and I suffer from constant negative thoughts. I just struggle through the day. What can I do to eliminate the negativity and have a better life where I don't just struggle through the day? Now that I have to say that's a tough one. You know, that's feeling like crap. Okay, so let's take a look at my answer. Yes, I've already written this answer, but I'm going to share it with you with, comment. I'm sorry you're struggling. First and foremost, I recommend therapy. Cognitive behavior therapy will probably do you the most good. Now, I want to take advantage of this moment to say I am not a therapist and I'm not a psychologist. I know a lot about psychology and I've been in therapy for a long time, but I am not a licensed practitioner. I'm not trained in that. So I always want to make sure that you understand that and consider any advice that I give you to be that of a trusted friend and mentor, as it happens to be spiritual mentor, manifestation genius. Okay. By the way, I mostly work with what I call wokas, which are women of a certain age who are feeling like, what do I do now? What's next? I don't know the next steps to take. I don't know what I want to be. I don't know what to do with my life. You know, you may be at the point where your kids are grown or your husband has retired or you have retired and you're just like, isn't there more to this? Isn't there something more than just paying the bills until I die? And I'm here to tell you, yes, there's absolutely a lot more. And so I help such women, wokas, find their calling and then act on it. So that's very cool. Okay. So back to the 25-year-old who suffers from constant negative thoughts. You may also be suffering from depression and or anxiety. I'm not a doctor, but you may want to be checked by one. But there is a lot you can do on your own. Learn to meditate. Plenty of free videos on YouTube for that. I also teach it, but you can learn for free, no problem. Consciously replace negative thoughts with positive ones. The thoughts don't have to be related to the negative. The positive new ones don't have to be related to the negative. Just interrupt that negative thought. Writing down the positive ones reinforces them. And I'm not talking about affirmations. I'm just talking about, like, let's say the negative thought is something about, oh, my house is such a mess. Just interrupt it with something like, the sky is incredibly blue and beautiful today. You see how easy that is? I mean, you just like cut off that negative thought. Remember that your brain is designed to be on the lookout for danger. This is left over from a time when humans might be prey for wild animals or when unexpected events like fire and floods presented actual physical danger. Other human beings presented actual physical danger. This makes negative thinking very natural to all of us. So we have to make a point to look on the bright side, and it's not always easy. So it's a very simple thing to say, well, we're designed to think negative thoughts. It's a much harder one to be like, oh, I'm going to have to look on the bright side on purpose. Okay. So your subconscious tries to keep you safe by keeping you in what is familiar. So if a change comes along, big or small, we tend to feel fear about it. And that means more negative thoughts. And so, keep that in mind about, excuse me, not just negative thoughts, but bad situations. If you grow up in an abusive household, for example, you are more likely to create an abusive family yourself or to be part of one or to be attracted to an abusive person because that is what is familiar. It's not because it's good or you like it. It's because your brain says, we have to be over here. Unhappiness is just the way it is. So that's a little brain trick to know. Okay. I know it sounds like you're screwed, but you're not. The brain is remarkably elastic and changeable. I've heard of a book that called The Brain That Changes Itself, and it's about neuroplasticity. Ooh, stretchy brain. So you might want to check that book out. It again is called The Brain That Changes It. In short, all is not lost. There is hope. And it's all in your head. The hope, that's a little play on words, not an insult. The hope is in your head. I wish you well. If you get a handle on this at age 25, wow, the rest of your life is going to be awesome. Awesome. All right, let's take one more question off of Quora. And hold on, let me check and see if we've got more comments, questions coming in. Okay. I want to be sure that I'm paying attention. If you do see this in the replay and you comment with a question, I will come back and answer it for you, or I may put it on next week's show. This is Ask Mojo Anything every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Central on YouTube and Facebook. Okay, let's see here. How do you get to know if you genuinely see a future with someone? Okay, so this is a question. How do you get to know if you genuinely see a future with someone? This is a little tricky. Well, that's a tough one. There are practical issues like whether the person respects you, treats you well, and has similar values and plans for the future. For example, and then there are more emotional and spiritual issues like whether the other person feels right to you. For example, when I met all three of my husbands, not at the same time, haha, I felt it. I knew when I met them that something was up. The first one, I knew I would marry him. I met the second one while I was still married to the first, who later passed away. And so I didn't think I would marry him, but I did feel this jolt upon meeting him. And sure enough, when my first husband died, I married him later. Then I divorced him, and then I dated a man for 7 years. Now, I wanted to marry him, but he didn't want to marry me. And I did not feel that jolt, that electricity when I met him. Another 7 years after that, I met my current husband. And yep, as soon as I laid eyes on him, I knew. In practical terms, just make sure that you're not wanting someone who doesn't want you as much. I learned that one from the 7-year man. He dumped me to marry the woman he'd been cheating on me with. Oy vey. And if everyone in your life doesn't like him or her, that's a pretty good sign that this is not someone you even want a future with. Or you could ask a good psychic. I like that. I like that a lot. That think about that. I mean, if everybody you know doesn't like the person that you think you want to be with, think about that. Consider that. I mean, that happened to me. Yeah, that's happened to me before. So that is definitely a good sign that all is not well. All right, let's see here. Let's do one more from Quora. Let's go back to an older one. Let's try this one. Do predictions change? I like this one about psychic readings. Do predictions change? If a psychic told you a major split occurred in 2020, but then they saw it not happening, but then see you two together up until 2022, should I trust that? Okay, this sounds like another relationship question. I said, well, without knowing the psychic and or having been in on the readings, it's a little hard to say. But I know that many psychics will say that things can change based on your actions and so forth. Now, Edgar Cayce claimed that psychics were only able to see likely possible outcomes, like the most likely or the more likely of several possible outcomes. But there are many possible outcomes, and so a psychic could miss if that most likely one changed to another one. So I guess that kind of makes sense, but I also think it's a convenient cop-out sometimes. I almost always stand by my predictions, and they do happen. Only a couple of times have I given a second or subsequent reading to a client and found that the prediction had changed. It's just really rare for me. You should always trust your own intuition primarily, even though it can be difficult to ascertain that sometimes, especially when it's about something you really want or don't want. Which is why you go to a good psychic, of course. And some of what I do is to confirm a client's idea of what is happening or will happen. You have intuition, so use it. And that includes taking a good energetic look at that psychic and see if he or she seems reliable. You know, you can feel it. You can feel it. Trust it. And if I may, the when of the split doesn't matter. It's you who matters. You need to know that you can trust yourself to deal with whatever happens. Fall apart if you like, but at some point, dust yourself off and start processing that relationship. Ooh, I just did a masterclass on this in the Mighty MoJo Club. Fall apart if you like, but process the relationship. By that, I mean, once you can be more objective, write down your thoughts on what happened, what you could have done differently to show love and value for yourself, and what the other person did or was like that you can now see was not good for you, etc. Take all the time you need. I still learn things from relationships that ended years ago. That is the truth. And I will suggest that if a specific incident or conversation from a relationship comes into your head, don't just go, oh, that's over, I don't have to think about it. Stop and take a look at that and go, oh, yeah, I remember that moment. Yeah, wow, that sucked. And then you want to say, what's the message here? What can I learn from this? How could I have shown love and value for myself at that time? and this will help you in the future. So, P.S. This psychic says the split is sooner rather than later, but don't consider that to be bad news. It will be so good for you in the long run. That is one of those things that I hear a lot. People do not. Years ago, a man, a regular client, and he had tuck up with this woman. He was seeing someone who treated him so badly. I mean, she just was awful to him. She wanted him to work out, but then complained that he smelled bad. Well, men, you do need to smell good for your ladies, and or for your men, whichever. I just realized one of my lipsticks is missing. Oh, well. At least it's on my mouth. That's fine. So he was, so she would say, you should go work out. And he'd go work out. And then she'd say, well, you smell. And so, okay, personal hygiene, it's something he can work on. That's fine. But she was rude about it. And she wouldn't give him the cookie. And yet she still wanted him to fix her house and do stuff like that and babysit her kid all the time. I mean, she just took great advantage of him and his desire to be with her. And, he was a really nice guy, and he deserved better. He just deserved better. And I kept telling him, you have got to leave this woman. She is not good for you. And he kept staying with her, and he kept staying with her. And I'm just like, dude, this is going to be miserable forever until she dumps you. And that's what's going to happen because you're not willing to take care of yourself. You're not willing to show love and value for yourself. And I know a big part of it was that he was insecure, which I know that's a lot of people, who are in relationships that are not good for them. And they won't leave because they think nobody else is going to love them. This person is the only one for me, whatever, I've got my heart set on this. But honey, if they're not loving you, don't love them back. I mean, seriously, that's what I learned from the 7-year man. I will never again give my precious heart to someone who does not want it. If you don't want to love me like I need to be loved, and if you don't, love me the way I love you, screw it. I'm done. I don't have time for this. Yeah, that's right. I'm an old lady with a great big DGAF. It's seriously, I'm like, if you don't want me, I am not going to want you either. And I think that's just a good lesson for everybody. All right. So I've done 3 questions, and I've given you a lot of stuff. I didn't know it was going to turn out about relationships today, but it did. And that's good because, like I said, I just taught a masterclass in the club about processing relationships and how important it is and how useful it is. And so if you would like to be in on masterclasses like that, you can join the club too, especially if you are, as I said earlier, a woka, a woman of a certain age who wants to be, well, not woke, but is awakening and wants to understand what her life is all about. All right, find me on the web at mojomedium.com. And I think that's it. We've got an open house for the club coming up at the end of the month. There's my announcement. All right. I will see you very soon. And I hope you're having a great day. All right. Ta-ta.